Meanwhile, while you who are listening are thinking about what questions you forgot to submit, I'd like to ask general questions to all three of the panelists, of the speakers. I think, first of all, the first question is, these projects are interrelated, the way I understand, and as the presentations are more about the projects than about the results, maybe you would like to say something about how the projects are related or coordinated. I'd leave that to any of the speakers to answer the question.
Okay, maybe I can answer to that, because I think it's a really good sample. You know, European Commission tried to make some kind of clustering not cluster the different projects to try to avoid overlap, try to find synergies. But here was a little more organic the way that we made it. Tecnalia is participating also in arts project, some colleagues of me. So we first started with Daniel, the coordinator of art, talking, and then after we talked with Antonis and the colleagues. And we are doing bi-monthly meetings. We call it coordinators therapy session. Sometimes it's about the project, and sometimes it's more about the problems that we have as coordinators. But we have find different lines to work together, how, for example, exchange data from the case study in the different for the different testing and development I want to do. Also, we are sharing all the public deliverables. We are inviting each other to our workshop, for example, for user requirement. We are trying to share anything that could be helpful to the other project, let's say. And with this continuous meeting, I think, I mean, the coordinated project in the sense that in the beginning each project has its proposal and is that, I mean, and then, but then after talking about that, maybe Eva or Antonis want to complement that, but my idea is that we are talking what we have and we are trying to share what could help to the other projects.
Yeah, it's like Daniel, I think, was the one who named it. We're trying to build a European task force using people from these projects to deal with the effect of climate change on cultural heritage. If you think about it, three European projects is like, I don't know, 40 different institutions throughout Europe, more than 10, 12 sites all over Europe. So it's a very good basis, and it's a very good, it will be a very powerful task force to deal with all these different aspects of the problem.
Thank you. Eva, do you have anything to add on this rather general question?
Well, I think speaking from city point of view, if a city is not quite sure that the tool developed by one project is really what the city needs or has the skills and resources to do it, it can still reach out to any of the tools that will be created in the other two projects. So yeah, I think this would be, from my point of view, the advantage of having two more projects which are focused on the same topic but deal with it differently.
Thank you. And thank you to those of you who are listening and providing questions, because suddenly we have a number of questions. So I'll take them from the top, and then we'll see how much time we have for each question. The first question is, could each speaker explain how local communities are involved in the projects and what kind of inputs are expected from them? If possible, could they detail any challenges in terms of community management? Who would like to begin?
Maybe I can begin, since
yes,
since I respect I mean, I am a member of the local community. In ARC project, what is expected from us is really to be part of the developers team, even though we don't maybe have that expert knowledge, but we have the resources and we have other knowledge and experience which then the researchers don't have, because they don't know Bratislava and they know the daily life and the daily problems we have to deal with. So so what we try to provide is data, is local knowledge, and also what else we provide is that we even we try to provide our local stakeholders, so we try to engage them. We are now establishing a local work plan, which is basically very detailed and tells what kind of meetings will be held and how will they contribute to the deliverables. And we are still thinking about ways how to promote the project, how to gather more stakeholders. So we started something like a snowballing effect. I think it's also very interesting for our stakeholders that there's finally somebody who is interested in solving the problems they are experiencing. So, so this is also, I think, there's a big benefit for our local stakeholders there.
Thank you. Antonis Aitsiber, would you like to add anything on that?
As I tried to explain in my presentation, we really rely a lot in the engagement of the stakeholders. We have these open labs, and they are meeting each other in their cases each 6 months, just before our General Assembly. So the idea is that any information, that we need for the open labs is structured in 3 different levels, taking into account which are the stakeholders that we need it. So the technical partners ask to the open labs, and then open labs give this information depending of the level. But also any solution, any test that is coming, any development that is coming for the project is going to go for one of these workshop, and it's going to be validated, refined. So it's a continuous 6 months interaction between the project and the stakeholders. Now we have had the problem that this workshop should have been now, April-May, and they have not been. So far they have been, some of them are doing it virtually, and some of them we are waiting if they could be done in summer, because some of them are public authority and now they are with all their other priorities, so we cannot ask to deal with this. But it's a very structured mechanism for us to ask and to give with the open labs and the stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'd like to move on with the questions. So we have a question for Antonis. So could you please expand on how the Hyperion project can be used in a quantitative analysis for business continuity?
Okay, so the idea is that business around the site is geography dependent, and also the location of businesses plays a significant role on the business ecosystem. So when there is a problem that has a geographic location, this affects the nearby activity, and also expands geographically on larger distances. So by gathering information on the geographic topology of the problems and the geographic topology of activity, be it economic activity, social activity, we are trying to find relations, causality, so that we can see how an event would affect geographically the area, and what we can do to mitigate it.
Thank you. The next question is addressed to Eitzeber. How do you define low carbon solutions? Are you finding manufacturers have reliable EPDs, environmental product declarations, and or suitable life cycle analysis tools for existing or historic buildings?
It's really a specific question. Thank you. This is a very important issue for us, because we really believe that this reconstruction of historic area has to be a better situation than the previous one. So we think that should be a low carbon one. And for that, what we are doing is mainly two things. One is when we are characterizing the solutions for the reconstruction or adaptation phase, we are taking into account the LCA, not only and LCA in general, but specifically also if they are local solutions, because we think also that the use of local solutions can be also good for the local economy and also good for the LCA point of view. And another one is we want, and that is so far is quite from the conceptual point of view, but we want to see how could be a reconstruction for a circular economy approach point of view. How when we have to reconstruct one historic area, we could use what we are learning for circular economy approaches. But it's true that still we are in very beginning of this task. So we are with these different lines, but we are not sure until what we are going to be able to make a specific, or it's going to be more like a criteria using general LCA. We are not sure about that.
Thank you, Eitzeber. One more specific question, but it might be directed to all of the speakers. The question reads, have you collected or will you be collecting specific data on the impact on materials? Who would like to begin?
I can begin. We are in the process of gathering this data. There have been extensive tests on materials throughout the first year of the Hyperion project. Mechanical, process analysis, many different aspects. I'm not a material expert, but I know that the teams in Padova and Tonsberg and Granada are working very closely on that. So they are doing tests using all kinds of sensors so that they can model the decay of materials under certain conditions, so that we can enter this information into our models and see how the materials would behave on different environmental conditions.
Thank you. Eva, Eitzeber, would you like to?
Yes, in our case, I think that we are thinking in more bigger scale. So not in all the case we are going to go to the material. I think in the smaller scale that Ravenna, we are going to do it. But for example, in bigger scales that Sava River, we are thinking in other kind of approaches and calculating impacts in another way. No, we are not arriving until the material. So that is what I say, that is good that we have a different perspective, because I think we are covering very, very different things and also very different scales.
Thank you.
In case of Bratislava, there has already some material been collected. And we have some first results on the bacteria and fungus. Also, materials are being collected and analyzed on the Demmin Castle site and by the museum, which has researchers that work directly in the museum, and they do these kind of analysis to make sure they at least to an extent are able to identify those parts of the castle ruins which are at highest risk from new cracks and fissures in the masonry. And also Camerino city in Italy, the city hit by the earthquake, they are also collecting material from the or they need very specific information, detailed information about the material of the buildings. Because this very much affects their stability and how they behave in terms of statics. In regard of Hamburg and Valencia, I'm not so sure. Maybe Hamburg, yes, because the Speicher studies built on timber logs, which are fortifying the river banks. So probably Hamburg, yes, and Valencia, I'm unfortunately not so sure.
Thank you. I think we have time. There are 2 remaining questions, and we have about 5 minutes before the break. So the first one, as a general question, what one aspect of your projects do you believe is the biggest risk to sustainability?
Well, if I may, just I have a very short answer. I think it's the 4-year term when you have then the municipal elections, for example, in a city. Mm-hmm. But I think climate change impacts is an overarching topic, and it's there where you have this 4-year term or not. And then the other one is the tourism and how it's managed. So as an economic sector. So I think these 2 are big threats.
Yes, 2 factors. So Antonis, what would you say? 1 or 2 factors?
Well, business continuity comes to mind. So that this is a part. If I'm in line with the question here, this is a part of the project that from day one we have been quite interested in. So we try to see how all these effects of climate change will change the local communities and their economic activities. So this is one of the main focuses of the Hyperion project.
Thank you. Aitsiba.
I don't know. I think we are just in a time that we are going to have to reassess everything starting now. I mean, I think the situation that we are living now changes everything. It's going to change the problem that historic areas have. It's going to be the way that we are living. So for me now it's difficult to answer to this. But as general, I would say again tourism as for historic areas, but maybe that changed from here. And also I will say the effect of climate change in general is the things that is posing more difficulties to the sustainability historic areas. But I think it's a question that maybe we have to make ourselves in 2 months or 1 year. I don't know.
Yes, thank you. The last question can be broken down into 2 questions. One which I think is quite easy to answer. The second one may take some time, so I will kindly ask you to try to answer that question briefly. The first question is, would any of these projects have happened without the European Union funding? So that's the first question. The second question is, what will happen after the project? Will you continue to work? How will you work towards a long-lasting and broad impact in society after the projects are over? Eva, would you like to begin?
So I think probably the work would have been done at some point, but I think with the funding, it comes earlier. We would in Bratislava currently a lot of the climate adaptation work is being done with support of external funding. So we what probably would have happened. This is what I just think, that it's my opinion, is that we would have waited a few years until the situation would have gotten really bad, and then we would have to deal with it anyways. Now with the funding, it allows us to do things beforehand, before it gets really bad. So that's a plus. And to answer the second question, I will give an example, and I will try to answer it with this example. In another project that we had, and it was funded by EA grant, we created, thanks to this project, policy document, which had also an assessment and monitoring framework as part. Which it was a part of this policy document, and this policy document was now for 4 years, and now we reached the end of the term, and everybody is asking us, all the people working in city administration from different departments, people working in city boroughs, they are asking, will we have another document? Are you going to prepare it? And even if you don't have funding, and I said, well, of course we are going to prepare it regardless if we get funding or not, because we started with this new tradition with this policy document, and we saw that it makes sense. It's people use it. It's of good use, so we are going to continue, and we will find the resources no matter what. This is my answer.
Thank you. Antonis.
I have a short answer for the first question. I don't think so. I don't think that we would be able to do what we're doing in this scale without European funding. Gathering information from all over Europe is there's no other way to do it. And regarding the second question, well, as you have already understood from the answer from Eva, right? These are dedicated people. I mean, they have been doing the same work even before getting European funding. So I'm pretty sure they'll go on doing the same thing. And the good thing is with these projects is that now they have an enormous amount of data to work on, new methods, new tools, new equipment. So to me, it's pretty obvious that the work will continue even after the end of these projects.
Thank you. And finally, Aitzibel.
My answer is the same. I mean, the work, of course, people is continue working in these things, but with the configuration, the ambitious, the scale of these, I mean, with the funding, European funding, I don't think it could have been done. And about the second part, I think nowadays the projects are more careful, trying to establish mechanisms to the sustainability and to work later with the result. I think that is something the European Commission is working in and asking, and I think the projects are trying to do it. So I think they are going to be result, but also dissemination result and exploitation result and documents and a lot of methodologies that are going to be. If this task force that we were before talking about, we are working on that, it's going to be a way also to work after the project are finished. But okay, it's still 3 years to finish the project, so we have time also to figure this out.
Thank you very much. And it's 18 minutes past 2, I think, in Scotland. It's something else here in Sweden. I'd like to thank the speakers for presentations that, even though they didn't provide the projects at an early stage, so we didn't get that much results, it was an interesting preview of the projects, and I look forward to follow the progress of these projects. Thank you very much to the audience. And during the session, we lost 4 persons, which is, I think, is a good percentage. And finally, I'd like to thank the organizers for making this happen. I think it came as a surprise to me how well this type of conference works, and the sense of presence that is created, although we don't meet physically. So again, thank you all. Bye bye from Visby.